and says and tells the Chinese so that we can continue to buy your produced consumer goods. Last year the federal government spent more than $450 billion paying off some of this debt. And last month alone, the federal government spent $18 billion on debt service. That's $450 billion in your tax dollars because the federal government couldn't live within its means. And that debt continues to grow, as we all know. Where did the money come from to fund the $700 billion federal bailout plan or the $800 billion stimulus package? Debt. This is money that will be paid back not by your children, but by your grandchildren and probably your great-grandchildren. You know, I have grandparents that lived through the Great Depression. They taught me some lessons. They were not well off. They struggled like a lot of people in this country back at that time. They learned valuable lessons from that experience. They learned to save. They learned to put something away. My grandmother even stockpiled canned goods. If any of you old enough to remember or have any relatives that lived through that, you often wondered why there was always canned goods stacked up in closets. They learned lessons from that. They didn't want to have to experience some of the hardships that they experienced before. What is the lesson we are teaching a younger generation in this country right now about this economic downturn that we're going through? What? Put your hand out and beg. Put your hand out and look for a bailout. It isn't about hard work anymore. It's not about sacrifice. It's the federal government will bail me out. Not to cut in on Todd Feinberg's ratings, but as a caller to my radio show said one night, it pays to be a bum in this country now. Those are the lessons that we need to look back at, the sacrifices that previous generations made in economic downturns. Now, I know we had some federal spending at that time, but not like we are seeing today. And that was actually money, not that I'm defending FDR's programs, but money that went to people, even though it might have been make work to a certain degree, they still had to work. What is the bailout about today? It's a handout to corporate insiders who control both parties on a national level. Sorry about that, my fellow Republicans. I just want to throw one quote at you from a modern-day patriot, if I may. November 2008, quote, "In bailing out failing companies, they are confiscating money from productive members of the economy and giving it to failing ones. An essential element of a healthy free market is that both success and failure must be permitted to happen when they are earned. But instead, with a bailout, the rewards are reversed. The proceeds from successful entities are giving to failing ones. How this is supposed to be good for our economy is beyond me. It won't work. It can't work. It's obvious to most Americans that we need to reject corporate cronyism and allow the natural regulations and incentives of the free market to pick the winners and losers in our economy, not the whims of bureaucrats and politicians." And let me give you a hint, it wasn't Hillary Clinton. It was Ron Paul.
The only institution too big to fail is the United States.
In closing,
Go down.
I know people have to get back to